Hello, ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Tannenberg.
It's hello.
And folks, today we are on a rather, well, we don't see Tannenberg all that often. It's always unique per se, but a rather different map. And Ryan, who's here with us?
Left hand side in blue, we have ourselves Robert playing as 21st Panzer with Maverick income. Right hand side in red, we have GhostDragon playing as the Czechs with a Maverick income as well.
Otherwise known as the Cromwell division. Like, I can't wait to get to C phase when he has a card of 24 Cromwells and 80 points to use them.
Yeah, I think he might need more Cromwells, just in case he runs out.
Well, it's good to know. It's good to know that he can just kind of put the tank go burr button. 233 in the meantime, though, looking and trying to engage that poor Piat squad. Okay, good thing the 233 can't aim. But Tannenberg. We don't see Tannenberg very often.
I mean, no, and it's a shame. It's a good map.
It is. It is. It's open. It gives you a little bit of flavor at the forest, to like the middle north. Gives you some kind of town stuff, but doesn't make it all about the town. Like it's got options, dude. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's a bloody cool map, and we're seeing a lot of the action here. It's happening down south. We got the Czechs throwing in all of their dudes, the RAF gunners, as well as FSO Fusiliers. Well, from her Robert's side, a bit more on the lighter end of the 233s, which probably aren't going to hold out well in this fight. But we have the Clown Car Circus coming in, the French pack tracks, 3 of them to be exact.
Yeah, I got my Pinocchio tracks. It's not the Pinocchio track. Unfortunately, we haven't seen that guy in a very, very long time. But I do love me some, Hans's funnies, let's call them. But engaging right now, I mean, it's basically, when you think about it, kind of like somebody took a martyr and said, hey, you know what, that's got too much armor. And thus was the French pack track born.
Yeah, a bit of desperation involved here as well. But we also got a Flak 88, so definitely going classic 21st here. Very reminiscent of SD44 of using all the crazy clown car stuff early on. And then come B phase and C phase, we got King Tigers and Panzer Force.
But it kind of makes sense, right? I mean, you go super cheap early on. If you can bank points, if you can't bank points, well, that's totally fine too. But it's a lot of kind of incidental HE.
Yeah. It's just volleying down troops as well, and it's all very clustered as well. So it's really going to be about whether we can get these pack tracks into a good angle deal with these Cromwells, because the Cromwells are very good at dipping in and out of towns.
Yes, they are, and one of them is already down. I didn't quite appreciate, but every single one of the crazy French pack tracks is already on the map. Well, and they're dying at a rather prodigious rate. But it is worth mentioning that they all were there. 3 of them down south are dead. The 3 to the north are still alive, but I don't imagine they will be for very long.
They were there, and now they are gone. But we're seeing more reinforcements down south. Just looking at the rest of the map real fast, we see the central position. GhostDragon's going to be making the initial play for the central forest, which can always turn into a grind. And up north, we got a pretty decent force here from her Robert. More of them pack tracks. And not a whole lot of defense here from GhostDragon.
No, not really. Driver killed, but, I found it kind of mildly amusing that the Cromwell doesn't really care that the driver's dead. So, I mean, unfortunately, the rest of them are now dead as well. Air slash trooping, spam, open, tons of fun. But at the same time, I would say they still always trade rather well against the converted RAF gunners. Although, this might be the only time that the RAF gunners might have more firepower than another infantry squad.
Yeah. A rarity.
Vickers K, not wonderful, but still technically a machine gun. Where were we, though? It was 12-12. I'm sorry, it was 14-10. It is not back to a 12-12 because, frankly, when you have Hans's funnies, you can kind of shock the enemy for a couple of seconds, but they don't really hold territory particularly well, I would argue.
No. Especially in just RST2 and a bit more openness of these maps. These S35s, that's not Bocage country. They can't dodge in and out between hedgerows. So they're going to be forced to engage these Cromwells out in the open. And the Cromwell may not be the best tank in the world, but it's much better than a 1930s French cavalry tank.
Yeah. I think the word you're looking for is serviceable, and I would have to 100% agree with you there. Yeah. And you can kind of tell about that. If you look down south on the southern side of the map, lots and lots of black smoke on the German side.
Yeah, it's been pretty heavy casualties. The GhostDragon's been grinding here effectively, but her robot does have that point advantage. Probably not for too much longer, as the center position is getting pushed.
Yeah. Yeah. 4 dudes with flamethrowers, not going to be enough to push everybody back. But they, I guess, will get their pound of remote flesh. Flock Wolf coming on in doesn't do quite as much damage as I was expecting. But hey, that'll work.
Yeah, does his job. But this is at least an open door here for GhostDragon to pick up some more flags. He does have the better... Well, he has... Yeah, he definitely does have the better infantry SRAM. What am I talking about? And then also, if he can just set up some anti-tank guns in this forest as well, some of 17 pounders, you can really start putting some pressure up north and down south.
We just did have a Boita Sherman for the Germans take out the Cromwell over here in the meantime down here for the Czechs. Again, have that wonderful moment of just like, wait, what country is here again? When we have all the Boita equipment and Lend-Lease and everything like that going back and forth. The Flak 88 now is engaging a Churchill, so we have a giant exploding cigar shooting at the guy who left to smoke him, and the exploding cigar takes him out, so that works out well.
Yeah, the heavy tank really not able to survive the heavy fire from the Flak 88 here. The southern side is still just an absolute grind. Really no one's advantage. I'm actually surprised here her robot isn't pushing a bit more up north. I think it's just coming down to Fog of War and just being so focused with dealing with down south. But if he was to make a bit more of a concise push up north, even with a bunch of ersatz trooping, he could probably make some pretty good territorial gains.
That is possible. Down south, I think the deadlock has been broken. There's a one Sherman left, but the Cromwell's kind of more or less chasing him, let's say. But the 88's gone. The last of the tracks are gone. Actually, I think there's probably the ability to bring a couple more 233s, but we're not going to see them for a good chunk. Here's my question. Why not stick a Sherman, vaguely around that central position, or at least spend a tick or two bringing in actual troops besides airsats?
It's... Yeah, it's not really too... He does have A-phase troops. Yeah, he really does need some Panzer Grants.
He absolutely does. There's got to be something that comes out here.
Yeah. I got confused when you said Shermans for a second. Like, oh yeah, the Czech Sherman. No. Oh, the German Sherman. Yes.
Exactly. The German Shermans. Again, it sounds like we have a tongue twister Mad Lib going on here, but no. Again, do not attempt to smack your electronic devices that you're streaming this on. We are saying the correct thing. Yes. But we are seeing a greater and greater influence over here on the ground attack planes. And I imagine those converted RAF gunners are saying, bro, please just get me to a cannon right about now. And unfortunately, there's only 2 guys left to actually even say, bro. Yeah, it's not good, which is weird, because the Czechs have a lot of air power.
Yeah, but it's not really that bad for GhostDragon up north, because her robot isn't really exploiting it. He can afford to have his converted gunners be converted into graves quickly, because it's not a whole... If they're not pushing, if they're not getting flags and territories, it's not really going to matter if her robot kills a bunch of them.
You have a very dark mind in the way that you look at things, and I appreciate it.
Oh, yes. You're welcome.
Yeah. Looking down south, the deadlock has tapered off. We are back to a true deadlock as opposed to a deadlock of people actively shooting at each other. The middle position is, technically still pro-Czech.
Checks out.
It does check out. Unfortunately, though, I get the feeling that we're going to have more and more airstrikes. We're certainly going to get more and more infantry here. Not enough, I think, to really take the position back, but enough for them to set up and take notice.
Yeah. Fuckerov coming in, going to get a pretty good hit on the Machine Gewehr 42 team. And that position, if he can get another Machine Gewehr team or some anti-tank teams, that can really buy him some time in defending up north. He's still pushing through the central position with all of his flamethrower troops. They do get the really Gucci 10-man flamethrower troops and Thompsons as well, and a Bren gun. I forgot just how good these Czech dudes do get the flamethrowers. And he might be able to even get to the final flag. Be quite wild.
I think that's true. Now, there's a Pioneer and a Flammenwerfer that are just apparently sitting on their bike and in their truck, respectively, and saying, you know what? I'll wait for this one. You know, if he takes it, I'm gonna let him have it for a bit, make him feel good. But they need to get in there right now, because otherwise they're going to start losing their comrades pretty dang quick.
Yeah, it's someone else's draw, you know? He wants to die in this one.
That's true. That's true. And maybe that's what we're seeing here is now, that's because we have another airplane coming on in, more bombs. Oof. That was probably one of the best Focke-Wulf strikes I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah. And down south, it does feel GhostDragon is slowly getting the edge here, as her Robert's been grinded down quite a bit and having to refocus a bit more in the center. You're now seeing one of the first heavy tanks, the Tiger being brought up, but there's still a lot of Cromwells down south, and I'm just waiting for like a Cromwell rush. I know it's not gonna work, and he's probably not gonna do it. It's way too late. But I love seeing the opening Cromwell rush.
Well, I guess the other thing about this too is once Tigers come out, in fact, there's a second Tiger coming in here as well. I feel like that's pretty much what you have to do at this point is you either pray that your 17-pounder, which he does have, is going to be very, very accurate and very, very fast in terms of acquiring targets here. But I don't know. I feel like you made the comment he's got the southern town under control. Why push? Why bother? Get him, Mitchell. Let's make this fun.
Yeah, it's really gonna for how Robert come down to his heavy tanks. So this is a pretty good heavy tank map, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Königstiger being deployed. Because there's a lot of open ground areas. You can keep him back. You can set up an anti-aircraft net, which he already has. Or he did have one down south, but also just down south. That bloody Cromwell is making a bit of a flank here. I do quite like it. And also there's flamethrower infantry in the forest. If he was to move those guys up a bit up north, he could clear out the pack gun and the ersatz.
True. True. What I was actually going to say is that if you look at the deployment of troops, it looks like GhostDragon is taking the gloves off.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a few guys.
Yeah, just a couple. And it looks like here Robert is not blind to this either, though. Unfortunately, he's bringing in Pioneers, which are close action. Oh, yeah, he's going down south with this. So, okay. So, Cromwell is down. But I imagine the back 38 is going to soon follow here. Yes, it will. Oh boy, will it. Okay. But it's not too shocking. It's not too shocking at all.
Getting some good bloody hitching.
And it looks like the Pack 38 might get rescued. And I say might because he's just as likely to get taken out by friendly fire. Shockingly enough, he survives. Waiting for one of those danger close missions where something half the world gets obliterated in a blink of like just a white flash.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see if this big infantry push down south does make the final breakthrough here to clear out the rest of the town. It is, the Tiger and the Sherman, yeah. And the Cromwells won't be able to really be enough to deal with that Tiger, but this is so many dudes. I think the rate of the dudes alone, I mean, if you put them all together, all those dudes, I think it would rate. No, it wouldn't rate as much of a Tiger. A Tiger's pretty heavy. I forgot how heavy really tanks are. Like how many dudes you need to rate a tank.
You need at least 2 dudes to weigh a tank. You want to drive the tank onto the scale, and the other guy to read the numbers.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's probably much easier,
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I was thinking you have like a tank on one scale, like those, like the Egyptian scales, and then you have to have like 100 dudes on the other side. And that's how you'd rate tanks.
Or we figure out if it's made of wood, and we see if it weighs as much as a duck.
Oh, and then we figure out if we can go to the afterlife.
Yes, exactly. That one too.
There we go. Easy.
It's a fair cop. Tiger's going to be engaging and being engaged by everything that has an actual cannon on top of it. Unfortunately, the things that have cannons on top of it don't have big enough snouts to really be deadly here.
Oh, and the Königstiger now being brought in. And we are seeing a lot of great heavy firepower being brought in from Robert. And that's going to help him a bit in defending. But this is such a rate of numbers against him. Yes, it's not as quality per se compared to, well, the tanks at least. So Czech infantry is actually pretty good here. So I wonder if GhostDragon will just have enough to push through, just he has a lot of dudes.
Well, this is why I get a Roof Ramen. So,
Yeah.
not for nothing, that's the infantry go away kind of talent here, and I think that something's got to happen. Don't be afraid to do that. Engage like crazy. Now, we are going to see a 17-pounder probably kill his Tiger just to the north of the town. If it's not him, then it's probably going to get flanked to death by the Cromwells as well. But, yep, there goes the Tiger.
Yeah. And you really cannot be affording to lose these Tigers as we get slowly and well, actually pretty quickly towards the end of B phase here. Come C phase, neither side has a lot of money, but it kind of screws over Robert because he can't rebuy those Tigers because another one comes back or another one blows up down south.
Yes, it does. I think courtesy of another 17-pounder down there. So basically what I'm seeing is the Cromwells are far more likely to get in here in C phase than we're going to be seeing anything else from the German side of the GAF. Though, I mean, 18 P4s, technically they should be able to get in there and it shouldn't be too terrible. We'll see.
We got off-map being brought in.
Down,
Center.
Ooh, center. Yes, there we go. I was checking that out before because I was thinking to myself, how does he push back all this infantry? And I did see they had the off map, but I wasn't really expecting to see it there. I really feel like down south might be better, but I could see it. You know, concentration of fire, making sure he can kind of just hit the entire forest. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think it's really rare for her Robert to even push down south. It's just, it's way too many dudes at that party. It's beaten, or it's over fire hazard safety. There's no point trying to get on in. You might as well try to find another venue to have a good night.
Fair enough. Just the ratios, they're all wrong.
Yeah, it's way too many Cromwells.
Fair. Absolutely fair. It is still 14-10, though, so I guess the question becomes, is the middle where you try to kind of break through?
I would say so.
Oh, see, because I had to disagree with you here. I mean, there's 4 flags that are right there, but down south, between the Verframen, Königstiga, the off-map, you toss down an artillery strike or two. Out of the Verframen, you pick up at least 2 flags, I would say pretty easily, the front 2, with the potential, based on how kind of the artillery strikes go in the first place, to kind of go and roll things back, you know, a couple hundred meters. I think there's certainly potential there. I don't know why he's just not being a little more aggressive on that, perhaps.
There's also the far northern flank as well, which is still pretty quiet from GhostDragon. He's done a great job of just bluffing how heavily defended it is, because her Robert is barely pushed up. He blows up some things every now and again up north, which is good for him. But unless you're going to follow up or something, it's not really worthwhile.
That is fair. But the first artillery strike's going to come down here in just a moment. And unfortunately, his Fusiliers are falling right back into it. I don't think he... Oh, no, he didn't know that was there. I thought the Zenista had been able to see them outside the forest, but no, they are in that little pocket dimension between the trees.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Robert being aggressive here. Love to see it. And there's the Verframen down south.
Yeah, there we go. That's what we want. We want some heavy-duty explosion.
Exactly. Exactly. I'm a simple man. I see explosions, I press like.
Yeah.
In the
and subscribe and hit that bell button.
That's true. And click on the end video card. If you like that, press that video here.
Yeah.
But the algorithm gods do see that the Fusiliers are like, you know what? Okay, now it's time for us to fall back, which I think is a very worthwhile and very respectable decision.
Yeah. Yeah, you've taken some heavy pounding here. It's a really one problem for her, Rob. He doesn't have a whole lot of great CQC troops. He does have that one card of B-Phase Pioneers, but it's really going to come down to the off-map to actually win this central position fight more than anything. You know, we have seen that happen in the past where people just do a rolling barrage of off-maps, and then before you know it, they get to the other side of the forest.
I was going to say, it feels like there's a bad joke coming in there someplace, but yeah, you're absolutely correct. Unfortunately, though, for these leading troops, the FFO Fusiliers are, well, they're not pressured anymore. Not by any stretch of the imagination. And they're going to get close enough to go and take out that half-track? Yes, they are.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to buy some time for the retreat, and then also the flamethrower troops are going to come on in. And it's just going to get rather hot here. But not a whole lot of fire support from her Robert. He is going to take heavy casualties one way or another.
Well, right now, too, he's going to donate, I think, one squad at least to the to the Lord of Skulls, just to kind of make sure he hits something of importance there. And we might have just kind of seen it here. 7.2-inch gun taking out a Flak 88. I'm actually kind of intrigued to see down south. We had teased a Verframen strike. And not for nothing, this is a grand opportunity. There's so many troops here. It is actually a little bit painful.
Yeah, High Robert has actually invested a decent amount. But also as well, if he tries to make his southern push happen, we're seeing the Cromwell and the 17-pounder down south where the attack beacon are in a very nice spot. The Cromwell getting some great long-range hits on the Ersatz troop, and the Verframen will be firing, but not in the position he needs to be firing. He's going to be firing it down south instead of in the Gucci infantry blob in the town, which that's a mistake. That's a big mistake.
Unless he's doing like the whole one round kind of thing. Nope, it's more than one. Okay. Well, that was a decision.
Yeah, that was a decision, and it wasn't the best run. But it's going to take a while to reload. He's going to need to get a supply truck out. That kind of ruins the surprise of the Werf. And look, he knows where the Verframen is. The Typhoon's going to come on in. Oh no, it's a King Tiger.
Yeah.
But he tanks it.
Yes, he does. Other Königstiger over here in the center. It's good to see that the Verframen will survive for right now, otherwise he'd be rather worthless. But I digress. A couple 190s being brought in. I've been actually kind of surprised by how active the 190s have been here. There's been a lot of investment into the air power, and I appreciate it, don't get me wrong. But I'm just surprised.
Yeah. He's just using it to try to blow up his important infantry squad, but it doesn't really feel like he's paid himself off. He just needs the more saturation bombardment to deal with the massive blobs. And we're seeing a push down south here, but it's only a couple Panzer Grenadiers, and there's a lot of angry Czechs in that town who really risk the Germans would get out of their space.
Isn't Tannenberg in Poland?
Yes, it's somewhere in Eastern Europe, because there's that World War I game called Tannenberg, which is pretty good.
Yeah, named for the giant battle, of course, which apparently was fought nowhere near it, which... I don't know, there's a weird, long, storied history about that particular site that I will not get into, because I have not done enough research into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of fighting in Poland for some reason, I don't know why.
You know, it must be because of those winged hussars make everyone look like a boss. So they're like, you know what, let's test ourselves here, let's do this. But the last artillery barrage should be called back over here in the center, and it's not going to be. But there's not, again, lots and lots of fleshy meat bags, which I think are just screaming, shoot me, shoot me, shoot me in the face.
Yep. And, yeah, Robert is making that slow progress in the center, but it's just coming down to the spam. GhostDragon has more cheap infantry spam. He's not exactly killing heavy tanks, but in ST2, it's just holding territory, especially in this, C-phase Maverick on Maverick. You just need to hold, so you just need to have a bunch of bodies to hold position. So his Focke-Wulf 190s might get some good hits here. Oh no, they're hitting more of the rear line. He does not see the company of Fusiliers walking up the forest.
Yeah, I think that's why we're seeing, at long last, the 172 is reciting himself. And the Königstiger is being engaged by the 17-pounder. No, functionally, the only thing on the map which cannot theoretically be killed outright by the 17-pounder is, well, laughing it off, as you might suspect.
Yeah. The King Tiger can just sit there and take damage. So, of course, the big problem with super heavy tanks and Steel Division, they can't get repaired. And he already took one Typhoon shot to the face. He probably still has a lot of internal HP. But those things can eventually just been, worn down and blown up from high explosive firepower. So, unless he can really take advantage of the King Tiger's presence right now, all it can do is just provide some long-range snipes killing a single infantry unit or two.
Well, another Focke-Wulf, by the way, in the center, slams a bomb in the middle of that attack. Wasn't soon enough to save that Pioneer squad, but it was enough to kind of stun everybody else just at the appropriate time. Last barrage is coming in. Verframen is not going to follow this up, and the Königstiger goes down.
Oh, wow, Ree. Yeah, that's you can't afford to be losing that at this point in the match.
Yeah, I'm sure there'd be some propagandist at back home probably saying you really shouldn't lose it at any point in the match, but I suppose you can hit it with a 7.2 shell. Kind of makes sense. 172 off map is doing, the Führer's work, rather furiously, as you might suspect. Doing lots of suppression, but there's nothing to follow this up.
Yeah, that's a huge problem here. And that was a great strike. That's what he needs. But like you said, no follow-up. It's not going to matter. He can just reoccupy the same position. And as you can see, if you just zoom out, this is one of those matches where there's a lot more red color than blue color on the map. The blue color has some pretty nasty units, but they're not units which can take positions. They're just units which kill stuff. And those units take a long time to kill stuff, which are hold down in town positions.
Yes, indeed. I guess plenty of time for us to be brought back to kind of weight of fire on them as well. The Cromwells were... Oh, they were trying to engage that Pugrin. Gotcha. That is a brave, brave man. Kind of humorously also, we see the artillery command officer way up front over here for the Czechs, which is an interesting call.
He just really wants to command the artillery. It's like, hey, I see him. They're coming right towards me. They're like 5 meters away. Drop it here.
Now, I might be incorrect with the new trade understanding, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't work that way, correct?
No.
Cool.
They only really benefit artillery units.
Kind of what I figured. Just wanted to double check my own personal erudition one more time there. Now, trying to look otherwise, Pack 38 down south for some strange reason. He was trying to get to engage that Cromwell. Unfortunately, gets caught out pretty quickly, and the Verframen goes down.
Oh, that's a good snipe, yeah, from GhostDragon.
A very good snipe, and at the same time, it's a very sad one,
Yeah, we like our Verframens here.
We certainly do.
Yeah. I like how the Germans just captured a Renault 35. You know what? You should make a great MLRS piece. We should just use this as an artillery gun, because why not? We're just strap some rockets to the side of the tank, and we're just kind of like light them up like Chinese fireworks. It'd be fine. We're in the Warriors Ray.
Wunderwaffe weapon number 63.
It's tank and artillery, turn and run.
I'm having flashbacks to Call of Duty 2. Was the first Soviet mission? You're of course playing through Stalingrad or something like that, and it was like, yes, please go kill the Verframen that's over here. I don't know. I'm just having I could still hear the tanks going over top of the trench. Ugh. Chills. No, I was also thinking about the fact that, if you think about German MLRS, we say MLRS, then they have probably a paragraph long word for it.
Of course.
In the meantime, Fusiliers doing what they do, fuseling forward and destroying pretty much anything that gets in their way. Tiger Tank trying to maybe vaguely cut them off, and then realizes that that's probably not the best idea, and backs away to the west.
Yeah, it's not the best terrain for a Tiger Tank on any day of the week, so he might as well just bugger on out of here.
Kind of bizarrely, the Pioneer has come a little bit further out, but does not seem like he wants to get involved here, and I don't blame him.
I don't even know how Robert can do at this point. He's got the King Tiger just making one big push down south here, but he's going to run himself into all sorts of trouble. I mean, there's not a whole lot of trouble nearby, but it's just, geographically speaking, it's kind of overextends himself, it feels like, but he has to if he wants to make anything happen, and damn, I think that's a HE shower which blew him up.
Well, you also noticed too that right before that happened, he surrenders. He went from that bright, healthy green to brown. Oh shit! Moment.
Yes.
And that was a pretty devastating difference, I would say, overall. But you have to remember that 500 of those points are the 2 Königstiger.
Yeah, they add up quite a bit. And if you just look at the chronology, yeah, especially once you look towards the end, it's pretty heavy losses here.
Yes, it is. And if you're looking even at the kill breakouts, Cromwell Kodet over here, this is the one that was down south. He shut down the 3-pack tracks and one of the capture tanks. Oh, and the capture tank. Oh, and the grill wannabe. Oh, and the 233. So, I mean...
Not bad.
Exactly. When their Cromwells are doing that Cromwell, it's you can't do anything about it. You can't really push back on that.
No. And then losses as well. The 150 did pretty decent. But apart from that, her Robert had a bunch of good quality units. But this game really comes down to quantity in the end of the day, especially once you get to that C-Phase Maverick and both sides are just outer stuff. You just need a bunch of good, cheap, effective infantry. This is why a lot of the new divisions with some weird infantry unit, which been drudged out of historical record, are really good. Because it's just about having good, cost-effective infantry with some sort of gimmick to them. And the Czechs do have that. And they have a lot of Cromwells, and the Cromwells are, without a doubt, one of the best medium spam tanks in game currently.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Only barely missed out by the L6s.
Oh, yes.
Oh, absolutely. But enough about the Italians and their crazy pasta tanks. Anything else, sir?
No.
Well, folks, in that case, then, you know what time it is for us. It's time for us to say goodbye. Until next time, I'm Con Ulrich.
I'm Angru. Take it easy.